Hmm. Actually, speaking of phones, what do you think of like Nintendo moving into the mobile phone realm, and potentials for Zelda games or Zelda spin-offs in that? Mhm. Um, I don't know if a mobile phone would be a good move for Nintendo actually, because they've always been very game centric. Well, not always, to be fair. They have ventured outside of games on a few occasions in their history, but for the most part, they've been pretty game centric. And a mobile phone is pretty much of a stretch outside. I mean, sure, you can play games on your mobile phone, but that's not strictly speaking its main function. Is is to be a phone, and the games are not, or I guess depending on your usage, but they're at least secondary. So I'm not sure if a mobile phone would be a good move for them. I mean, I think it's an interesting move moving into the smartphone realm for them, but I'm not overly convinced that they're going to, like, I think some people are expecting, a Mario game, Zelda game, or whatever, Metroid and things like that. I'm not convinced that's what they're going to do. I'm guessing what is more likely to be something like companions. You know what I mean? Like not quite games, but just stuff where, like, imagine like a Pokedex. Like I think they like to do things like that. Like apps that assist a game, but they're not necessarily going to be games themselves. That's my guess. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Of course, I have no idea what they're planning, but I just don't get it. I just get the feeling that whatever they do is not going to be like these fully fledged mobile games that they're not going to be competing with Angry Birds or their popular mobile games. What you got, like Candy Crush and so on. Age of, well, not Age of Empires. What am I thinking of? Yeah, that Empire Clash. Yeah, yeah. Clash of Titans, I think, or Clash of Clans, Clash of some, yeah, all those games. It's not going to be competing with any of those. That's what I think anyway. Again, I've no insider knowledge. It's just what I'm guessing that they're going to have some kind of. It's going to be a bunch of apps that just assist their main games. Because at the end of the day, you got to think about it. Like, if they start putting these fully fledged games on the mobile phone, on the smartphones, that are competing with the likes of Angry Birds and so on. I mean, sure, they can make money from it, especially if they have the microtransactions in there or the ads and things. They can make money from it. They can make a lot of money from it, but it could have the potential to knock off the 3DS market. Well, not entirely, of course, because I think 3DS market is pretty, for the most part, different from the mobile gaming market anyway. But certainly, it could have the potential to cut into it in a significant manner. Maybe not cut out completely, but certainly cut into it. I mean, it depends, I guess, on why on the type of person plays it. But I think that's what they're thinking. That if they do a fully fledged game, how can this affect the 3DS sales? How can it affect what we do with 3DS? And that's why I'm a bit skeptical about them doing a fully fledged game. But we'll see. We'll see. What's up? uh, well, let's see. Cost of phones. Phones are interesting because I can remember when mobile phones would be like £4,000. They were ridiculously expensive, and yeah, No, it's just because the rich people had them, that's for sure. But there was more to because they were still fairly new at the time, and so they were quite expensive to produce and sell. So yeah, they would be like, you know, 3,000, 4,000 pounds, and they were called car phones because they literally use a car battery, and they're quite massive. But this is going back a while. So mobile phones went from being really expensive to maybe like the late 90s, early 2000s, where they started to really come down in price and become much more accessible to just say the average person. So they went from really expensive to really cheap, and that seems like the average phone, especially smartphones, they tend to go up. Like uh, phones are going. You know, buying a phone would be like, you know, £300, £400. I think iPhones, if you were to buy them, they're like maybe £800, £900 sometimes. So it is interesting how that has changed. That was when I started off really expensive, went down, and it seems to be going up more and more expensive just for different reasons. And as far as Nintendo doing a mobile phone, I mean, clearly I think they do have the know-how to do it, and if they don't, they can employ it. It's not a difficult thing for them to do. I don't think it's just. I know. Would you want a mobile phone with Nintendo on it? You know, is that because they'd probably want to do some kind of crazy Wii stuff like the Wii phone, where I don't know, you have to like wave your hands to yeah, yeah, you have to wave your hands in front of the screen to press the buttons on it. Like you can't just press the buttons on a pad. You got to wave up and down or some stupid nonsense. It's like I don't know what they'll do with a phone, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would be a good move for them. I guess you don't know until they actually do it. But it is a bit like. But then again, when Sony decided they're going to move into the video game market, so I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, "Sony doing video games? That's a stupid idea. They make TVs, they make VCRs, you know." But then, well, they blew up. You know, they did really well. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's time Nintendo tried their hand in a different form of electronics. So could be. Oh, well, it's possible, I mean, especially with Nintendo planning on moving into the mobile market. So it's certainly possible that they might consider, putting some of the older games on the iPhone or Android or whatever, and certainly, and I think it won't be much for a phone to run those games. They can run much more powerful games than that. So it wouldn't be a question of is it powerful enough. I mean, they could easily do it. Um, so it's certainly possible. Would they do it though? I mean, I guess with older games, it's not as big a risk to their business as newer games would be, because at this point, yeah, you've probably either already played Ocarina of Time or you don't particularly care for it. You know, you've probably already played the first Zelda game or you don't particularly care for it. So having that nostalgia effect on the iPhone, it could actually work in their favor, especially if they don't bitch out the price. Like sometimes when they start doing the eShop, and a lot of the games were, a lot of these old games from like 10, 15, 20 years ago, they were selling for like really expensive. So as long as they don't do anything stupid like that, then it could work in their favor having these older games on the iPhone. I mean, if you look what happened with GTA, when they used to, Rockstar, when they put some of the older GTA games on iPhone, and they were smart with the pricing. They were only like, I think like £2 or something like that, £1 something or £2. They're really cheap. So yeah, it did well. I think as long as they don't try to be like, oh, we're Nintendo, people pay for the nose to have our 30-year-old games, because no, it won't. So as long as they're not stupid with the price, and they could work with them. It could work. Hmm. Yeah. Well, if you're buying a Nintendo phone, it's not. I mean, yes, if you're looking at okay, a Nintendo phone. Okay, you're gonna have Nintendo games there. Given that's pretty much a given. In Nintendo centric apps, that pretty much is a given. But what else can a Nintendo phone do? Because App Store is huge. Android is huge. So is it going to run on? It's not going to run on iOS. I mean, that much we can pretty much be sure on. So it's either going to run on Androids, Windows, or they're going to, or maybe some other third party OS, or they're going to do something, create their own OS. The third party, say anything other than Android and Windows, then you kind of, I mean, even Windows really. So let's be fair, anything other than Android, then you got a risk of just not having that many apps available for it. Windows is okay. Windows phones are okay. They're kind of coming up a little bit more now, but it's still quite low as far as apps concerned. Any other third party, if they even exist, they can pretty much guarantee that they're not going to have anything on them. And then if Nintendo decides to do their own operating system, then yeah, it's like, okay, well, what again? Back to the whole third party thing about how can you get third party apps now. Nintendo with third parties, as they've proven, they don't really have a particularly good relationship. So yeah, you could buy a Nintendo phone and it could potentially be the absolute best phone in the world, but then what can you do with it outside of Nintendo stuff? The Vita's kind of, I don't know what's happening with the Vita at this point. Actually, I think Sony might have forgotten about the Vita, so they might just well be like, oh, well, Vita. What? Yeah, and I think the Vita actually means life. It's Latin for life, and it just has absolutely no life at all right now. It's just gone. And I like my Vita. I do. I think it's a great machine. It's an absolutely fantastic portable machine, but they're so lacking on games right now. It's just it's brutal. It's like I could go months and months and months without playing it sometime because what am I going to play with it? But it's just I've got some old games I can dig out, but I'm not going to keep going back to play older games. It's like I'm done with these, man. The only times I play it now is if I ever get the bus, and then if I get the bus anywhere, because I cycle most places, I rarely get the bus anymore. And when I do get a bus, it's like I have to remember to charge it beforehand because the battery's died out so much that you can't just pick up and go. I've got to make sure the battery's charged the night before. So I have to plan to play it on the bus. That's how bad it is. It's just it's pretty bad with the Vita right now. It's just it's such a shame. It's a great machine, but yeah. Oh well. If they ever released a Mario game on the iPhone. Um, it's not a rumor I've heard, not specifically. I mean, apart from Nintendo planning going into the mobile market, I haven't heard of any games they're planning on doing. I'd imagine they'll do something with the Mario brand because why not? It's their biggest, easily their biggest brand. It's their mascot. So I just, but all right, yeah, the company that's actually doing this stuff for them, yeah. Not particularly, no, no, no. All right. Zelda today. uh, let's see. No, I think we pretty much covered everything. Actually, what do you No, we talked about your favorite Zelda game. When you yeah, so we know that already. Um, yeah, guess we've kind of covered everything for now, at least anyway. Actually, I've got a question for you. What do you think of the rumored Zelda Wii U? Do you think that's ever going to happen, or do you feel like they're going to just leave it to the NX at this point? I mean, there's supposed to be this game coming out for the Wii U. You know, the Zelda game, this massive Zelda game. It's just called Zelda Wii U at the moment. I don't think it has a title. But now with the NX rumored and seemingly very likely now at this point to be coming out this year, there doesn't seem to be much point in putting a Zelda game on the Wii U, because if you're gonna have the if you're gonna put a Zelda game on the Wii U, then who's going to buy an NX? But then if you put it on an NX, then you're going to have a whole bunch of pissed off people who bought the Wii U, thinking there's going to be the Zelda Wii U game coming for it. Which, by the way, just as a side note, you should never buy a console on a promise of a game that wait till the game is released, then buy the console. Don't buy the console because you think a game is going to come out. Wait for the game to be released, then buy the console and that game. But yeah, a lot of people bought the Wii U because they thought the Zelda game was going to come for it, and it looks like that may not happen. And they might do something like what they did with Twilight Princess, yeah, where they released it on the GameCube and the Wii. They might do something like that, but depending on what they plan on doing in the game, it depends on how good an idea that is. Because I'd assume whatever the NX turns out to be, in the end, they're probably going to get rid of that tablet design. So if the Zelda game was designed with a tablet in mind, then could that be portable over to whatever types of controls the NX ends up using? With there all these rumors about screens on the controller and whatnots and things. So how translatable would it be to be able to just make the controls suitable for that? I mean, I'd imagine it's not impossible, but would it work in any real way? Yeah, exactly. So it seems to me that they're if they are definitely it's still technically a rumor about Wii U coming out this year. It just seems like it's a likely rumor. So if they are going to be releasing the NX this year, I would say the best thing for them to do is forget the Wii U and just release Zelda on the NX and make the controls as suitable for the NX as they possibly can. That would be my thing, because the Wii U was a disaster. What I mean. No matter how you look at it, the Wii U was a disaster. And I think at this point they need to just. It looks like they're going to just abandon shit. I mean, I still think, in all honesty, I think the best thing for them to do is to wait off on the NX, let the Wii U die out as much as possible, and then release the NX in maybe 2-3 years, and then have it competing with the next, Xbox and the next PlayStation. Because right now they're going to be competing with PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and those are possibly about halfway through their life cycles, maybe a little bit more than halfway through their life cycles at this point now. So, do you really want to be competing with consoles that are, on their way out as well? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think at this point they need to wait a few years and let the Wii U suffer their losses. It is what it is. It was a disaster. It sucks, but take the loss and then come back in a few years with the NX, absolutely blow everybody's minds with the power of it, with the design of it, with the creativity of it, with the forward thinking of it, all that stuff that all the things that fans want, plus everything that fans, plus a whole bunch of things that fans didn't expect. Have the use the time to make the Wii game for the NX to so it controls in that as well as possible. So people would be thinking, man, I just can't imagine this game in any other way. That's what I think they really should be doing. But it doesn't look like they're going to be doing that. It looks like they are going to be releasing the NX this year. And if they are going to be doing it this year, then, well, just cut off the Wii U altogether, I think. Just cut it off and just release Zelda on the NX and just do what you can and hope for the best. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Right, yeah. And just have it on the NX and just like blow everybody out of the water. You know what I mean? Just have this powerful machine, this creative machine. Yeah, just take my money now. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. That's what I think they should do. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but that's what I think they should do. Yeah, yeah. And they apparently they're going to be talking more about it this year, the coming months. We should know. There should. Apparently, I've read somewhere that there should be a major announcement at June, which I guess is going to be E3. It just said June. It didn't specifically say E3, but that June is E3 time. So we should, at the very least, know something by then as to. But I don't know. It just seems such a rush. Like if you're, because they pretty much announced it. I mean, I think rumors start circulating in a big way about middle of last year, and then it was like, yeah, we're going to release it in 2016. That became another rumor a bit later on, and now so I was supposed to know more about June, and potentially it's going to be released by the end of this year, by sort of Christmas 2016. And it just seems like that's such a rush. I mean, how long? Because I yeah, like I would assume that on some level they'll start planning the next console as soon as the Wii U was released. Because any company, as soon as you release one machine, pretty much right away, within a fairly short period of time, you take a little break, but you come back a short while later and you start thinking, okay, what is the next step? And I can understand that, like, you already need to start thinking fairly early on about the things that you want to do next. But in terms of actually developing it, because the ideas they have at the beginning are going to be fairly premature. You know what I mean? So you're going to have, like, what are they literally just going to go off on these, because on these first few ideas they have, because that's what it seems like they're potentially doing if they're releasing it this year. The Wii U came out what, 2-3 years ago, I think, something like that. And that's right. You know what I mean? It's exactly. It's not that long ago. It's quite as a young system. So if they're releasing a Wii U, an NX this year, that means they would have had to have it thought of, designed, and gone into production by pretty much now, or within a few months from now. If they haven't even started production yet, then it might have a troubled launch. So it seems like I would much rather they stretch out the generation as much as possible because there's rumors of a PS4 coming out quite soon as well, which I think is too early for a new PS4. Potentially another Xbox Two as well in the next few years. Again, I think that's too early. I think, in fact, to be honest, I felt like the previous generation ended a bit too early as well. And the problem is when you have, as you say, games can take a while to produce, especially when you're looking at what can you do with the current systems. I think they need to give these things time, and the PlayStation 4 is doing really well right now. There's no rush on the next console. They just need to like take their time. They should be thinking about the next console, absolutely, but they don't need to rush a next console. They just need to take the time, think about what they want to do, come out in a few years, well, more than a few years rather, and then blow people's minds with the next PlayStation. But it just seems like nobody wants to do it now. Everybody wants to move forward. We want to take advantage of because 4K resolutions and so on. And it's like, okay, granted, I get why you want to take advantage of that, but that's still going to be around in a few more years. You know what I mean? There's no rush for 4K. I feel it's like, come on, you don't need to rush a console just for the sake of 4K. And then what? What else do you have? 4K resolution. How many people even have 4K TVs? You know what I mean? So it's like, what is the point of rushing it just for the sake of capitalizing on 4K? 4K will still be around in 5 years, 6 years. And they may even have something better than 4K at that point, which you could capitalize on. So it's like there's no need to rush for this one piece of technology. But it just seems everybody wants to rush. I get why Nintendo wants to rush because their Wii U was a disaster. Even though I still feel they need to wait a little bit longer, I understand why they want to rush. But everybody else, there's no need for PlayStation to rush. There's no need for Xbox to rush. Wii U, I get why they want to rush. There's a bit more of a need for them to do it. I still think they should wait, but there's a little bit more justifiable at least. The Xbox, sorry, the Xbox, yeah. So what do you mean? Oh, right, right. It turns it right, right, right. It's not doing as badly as the Wii. I mean, it's not as doing as well as the PlayStation 4. But to my knowledge, it's not doing as badly as the Wii. So it's certainly not a disaster that the Wii U was. I mean, granted, yeah, the Wii U has some spikes with Mario Maker and Splatoon, but overall, it was pretty lacking. I think Xbox has done at least quite a bit better than that. But yeah, they're playing catch up to everybody's playing catch up to PlayStation right now. Mm, yeah, and they got PlayStation VR. We should know more about that soon. I don't know when it's being released, but you should know more about that soon. And that looks pretty awesome. Hopefully, it's not as expensive as the Oculus Rift, but it looks pretty cool. I should hope so because I mean, to be fair, actually, PlayStation have a good. I mean, a lot of their peripherals tend to be cross-platform, like their headsets work cross-platform. So I think there's no reason why I shouldn't make this cross-platform into the next generation because I personally wouldn't want to spend. I mean, I could probably justify, say around 250, 300 if it's going to be compatible with, say, PlayStation 5 and even potentially PlayStation 6. I could justify 300 in that case. But if it's going to be compatible only with a PlayStation 4 and they want, say, 400 quid for it, no way, absolutely not. It needs to be no more than 150. I'd say at that point, that'd be my max. If it's going to be compatible only with a PlayStation 4. And even then, there'd have to be some killer games for me to want to spend that money on it, because I wouldn't want to buy it and just play some shitty games on just because it's in VR. You know what I mean? It needs to have some substantial games that are going to make me think, like, you know what I mean? It's going to have like games that make me feel like I felt when I played Zelda: The Ocarina of Time. If it's going to be like that. But yeah, that's I guess that all waits to be seen.